realized I had a problem when I couldn't feed my child. I was crying in my car after spending rent money at the casino. I gambled until all of my money was gone. Gambling addiction is one of the fastest growing forms of addiction today. To understand how it really affects people, I went out and polled 100 gamblers and recovering gambling addicts. We asked 6 questions. They were simple, but raw. How old are you? How long were you addicted? When was your last bet? What made you want to stop? Did gambling ever put you into debt? And what are you doing now to stay away? Their answers paint a picture that we all need to see. Even if you're not hooked to gambling yourself, let these answers serve as a cautionary tale about what might happen after too many bets, or what someone you love could be battling right now in silence. We heard from people aged 12 to 60, and the average age was just around 31 years old. But here's what's scary. Over 12% were underage, not legally allowed to even gamble. Imagine being 17 years old or younger, because again, we literally had a 12-year-old fill out the poll. One of them said, "I'd been saving up for a car, but ended up gambling it all away." Listen, it's not just a grown-up problem anymore. It can impact anyone at any age, from anywhere. We had a 16-year-old respondent tell us that he lost everything, and his family no longer sees him as a good person. We don't have to imagine what kind of damage gambling is doing to youth mental health. We just need to ask them. And honestly, it doesn't look good. When we asked, how long has it been since your last bet, answers that we got ranged from literally just 2 minutes ago to many years clean. There were some respondents who were still clearly in the grip of this illness, as it actually seemed like they were gambling while they were filling out the survey. One response that truly illustrated that is this one: "I can never stop thinking about putting more bets in." And that's absolutely something that I can relate to, because I'm not just a guy that's doing research on this topic. I'm someone that's lived through it. For 6 years, I was gambling pretty much every single day for around 8 hours, and I was constantly thinking about it. It was all I cared about. I wanted to be a professional gambler, and it didn't matter what was going on in my life at the time. All that mattered was how I was going to win money, or if I was down money, how I was going to get back to even. Here are the top reasons people quit gambling. Financial, 41%. Massive losses, debt, ruined savings, and financial instability were by far the most common reasons. Family, 13%. Damage to relationships with partners, kids, and parents motivated many people to stop. Life impact, 7%. Gambling disrupted jobs, routines, housing, education, and overall quality of life. Mental health was 7%. Feelings of anxiety, depression, shame, and even suicidal thoughts. Rock bottom, 5%. Hitting a point of no return, losing everything, or facing legal trouble triggered change in many. Let's talk about some of the responses. It was going to kill me. I was losing thousands in one night. I took out loans to cover my bets. My wife gave me an ultimatum: get help or she's taking the kids. I was stealing from my husband to gamble. I couldn't live with the shame. I hated myself. I didn't want to wake up anymore. These weren't dramatic stories for the sake of it. They were confessions from people who felt like they had no more moves left. When we look at the fact that up to 20 million people in America alone could be struggling with some level of gambling addiction, it becomes a little bit scary to think about how many millions of people could be experiencing negatives in their lives like these. We need something to change, and something did change for many of our respondents. As next, we asked, was there a specific moment where you realized you had a problem? Here are 5 of the most powerful and insightful answers to the question: when I couldn't feed my child. This one line captures the devastating consequences that gambling can have on the most basic human responsibility: providing for your family. It's a gut punch, and brutally honest. I had just blown my entire paycheck on roulette, and when I opened my banking app, I saw that I had $1.57 in my account. When I stole $8K from my parents. This one reflects how addiction can push people beyond their values and into actions that they had never imagined that they'd take. There was literally no money left in my bank account to pay for normal expenses any longer, and I had to resort to getting several cash advances and a few tribal loans. After my business partner discovered that I'd been making regular withdrawals from our joint account to pay for my own expenses, I finally had to acknowledge the problem. This shows the intersection of financial collapse, betrayal, and social consequences. A moment where it was no longer possible to hide. I would ignore my friends and sit on my phone playing roulette, not engaging with them at all. This shows how addiction isolates. It's a quieter, more emotional form of damage that, unfortunately, like myself, many can relate to. That's the cycle. It's not always about the loss. It's about the inability to stop and the fact that gambling can pull you away from friends and family. If you're gravitating to the isolation of gambling, it's a clear sign that something is wrong. If any of this sounds like your story, I want you to take a second and hit that subscribe button to join this community. My goal here on the channel is to help you and those that you love to avoid making the same mistakes with your life that I made with mine. Next, we ask directly, did gambling ever put you into debt? 83% said yes. I was actually anticipating this number to be a little bit higher, but it's still just mind-boggling. If you've gone into debt from gambling, view this as confirmation that you're not alone, but that's definitely not a good thing. Interestingly, it wasn't just credit cards. People talked about personal loans, cars repossessed, 401ks drained, and borrowed money from friends and family, which of course led to relationships being ruined. Interestingly though, among people under 30, over 90% said they had gone into debt. This is of course a group that's likely working lower paying jobs or just have lower salaries on average than their older counterparts because they're earlier on in their careers, which is a very scary thought as they may end up in cycles of debt and borrowing that could set them back for years. While most people their age are out there paying off student loans or saving for a house, they're paying back FanDuel and DraftKings. But this isn't a hopeless story. Things really can get better, and we wanted to know how. So we also asked, what have you done to stop gambling? And here were some of the responses. I clued my family in. I gave them access to my accounts. I joined a Discord support group. I'm 4 months clean. I relapsed 20 times, but I never stopped trying. And now I'm doing well. And one person who had lost everything wrote, it's the first time in years I've gone 30 days clean. I'm starting to believe in myself again. And that's what recovery looks like. Some tangible things that respondents also said that they did that you could do as well are attending Gamblers Anonymous meetings, blocking apps and websites on their devices using something like Gamban, and finding purpose and filling their time with things that made them feel active or productive. Most of the people that we spoke with were in their 20s and 30s. Gambling was costing them money, relationships, sleep, and their mental health. But many of them are finding their way back. And if you're seeing yourself in their stories, remember that you're not alone. If you're struggling with gambling, remember that you're not alone. You're not weak. And it's not too late. If you've watched this far and you're someone who has quit gambling, I want you to comment below. What was your turning point? Or if you're not there yet, what would it take for you to stop gambling? And if you're ready to take that leap of faith and leave gambling in the past, then I want you to watch this video next, where I lay out in detail how I was able to quit gambling. Now let's keep getting better together, one day at a time.